This is a map that shows the elevations in above sea level and below sea level. This is a very unique map. If we look at it, we can see, we know of course here in the Rocky Mountains that these are tall, so we get the darker orange, the darker reddish orange colors means really, really high. And down here in the southeastern United States, we know that it's fairly flat and level, so we can see the green goes up to the shoreline. And if we come on over, out here, this white area would be something we call the Continental Shelf. Around the east coast of the United States and the Gulf Coast, we have a fairly large continental shelf. Also down here in South America, they have a tremendously large, on the east coast of South America, they have a tremendously large continental shelf. Okay, as we move out from the continental shelf, this area right in here, we see the colors are getting a little bit darker. Well, this region right in here would be our Continental Slope, because it's dropping down to the deeper part of the ocean. As we come on around, this would definitely be a large abyssal plain with some deeper pockets of water within it. But for the most part, if we look, there's abyssal plain, here's abyssal plain, and here. And so we have quite a few areas of this abyssal plain type landform. Okay, so we have our continental shelf, continental shelf, down to the continental slope, to the huge abyssal plain. And now one neat thing about this map is this would be our mid-ocean ridge, okay? Mid-ocean ridge. And you'll notice kind of an interesting feature. It follows the coastlines. It's exactly the same shape as the coastline of South America and Africa, which goes into another unit about plate tectonics, how these two continents used to be joined together, and the mid-ocean ridge is what split them apart. So this mid-ocean ridge, here's Iceland, which is actually part of it. This mid-ocean ridge is part of the longest chain of mountains in the world. And right down the very center, if you follow this little red line, just pretend that's it, that's the rift, could be the Rift Valley. The Rift Valley is what splits the mid-ocean ridge along down the middle and keeps forming this new ocean crust, which is what's pushing Africa and South America apart from each other. Okay, now, a neat, interesting feature, if you look over here at the west coast of South America, they have almost no continental shelf, and the same thing is up here in North America, California, Oregon. These places, you'll notice, they don't have near the continental shelf that the East Coast does. And in fact, if you look, it drops down fairly quickly to deeper water. And along the coast of South America, you can see it's really dark water. This is a super deep trench area, okay? And it's because that this is a subduction zone. This is a continental, a convergent boundary. South America is moving this way, and this ocean crust is moving that way, so the ocean crust is diving down underneath South America. So a very, very narrow continental shelf, almost no continental slope, and it drops steeply down into a deep sea trench. If we look around here at various places, we have a seamount, we have a seamount, we have a seamount. Over here we have Hawaii, and this would be an island. And you can see that the tops of the islands here, they've got little different colors on them. Vegetation, okay, a little tiny bit of different color here, a mountaintop here and a mountaintop here. Those would be islands. Now, unfortunately on this map, you're really not going to be able to tell much about a geo or not. But again, we do have a good continental shelf, continental slope, abyssal plain, mid-ocean ridge with a Rift Valley running down the middle of it. We have our seamounts here and here, all over the place, many, many places under the ocean. And like we said, then we have islands, which are seamounts that are very, very tall, that stick up above the surface of the ocean. And in fact, as we've mentioned in a lesson, Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii, when you go up to the top of Mauna Kea, which is a volcano, and from the ocean floor to the top of Mauna Kea, you actually have the world's tallest mountain. And remember, we can't show a geo on here, but geo, and we did mention that we have this deep sea trench here. The deep sea trench is some of the deepest places in the world, and it doesn't really show up on this map, but over in this area here near Guam, we'd have the Marianas Trench. And the Marianas Trench is the absolute deepest place on Earth. It is so deep that Mount Everest would be a mile underwater if you stuck it down in there. Okay,